Hey everybody, this is Lisa, the Quilt Wizard. The other day I showed you how to do cross-hatching in a block using marking tool. Today I'm going to show you how to avoid parts of that block also using marking tool. In my last video I showed you how to do this crosshatch in this block. Today I want to avoid this center cross area in the block and crosshatch in the outer areas of the block. I could use pattern Eclipse to not stitch in this area, but sometimes Eclipse gives us unintended results. Or if you're a QCT user that doesn't have Gold Card, you may not have pattern Eclipse. Again, I'm going to go into Select and Sew and choose a pattern. And we are not going to stitch out this pattern. We are only going to stitch out our markings. Again, I moved my pattern up and out of the way because we are not going to stitch this pattern out. The next thing I'm going to do is go to Toolbox and Marking Tool, and I'm going to start adding markings to, I chose to start in this bottom left corner of my block. You can start wherever you want depending upon your pattern, and I'm going to add markings. So I'm adding one here, move to this lower corner, add across to the next point, add, and so on until I get to a break. So here I've come to a point where I cannot stitch across this white part of the block. So I want to, at this point, add a new marking. So I'm going to click on Add Marking. I'm just going to call it 2. And then I'm going to continue on until I encounter another break in my stitching. Again, I've come to my center cross block and I don't want to stitch across here. So I'm going to end that last mark, which was 2, and add a new mark, add a marking. I'm going to call this 3, jump across here, and then start adding marks again, adding points, I should say, again. So now I've come to a point where I need to move up into this area. So again, I'm going to add a new marking. 7, and then I'm going to move up into this area up in here and continue my markings, avoiding that center cross. I have all my crosshatch marked here. Now, if I wanted to go around again and do my stitch in the ditch, I could outline this block as well. I also chose to outline my center cross to give it a nice finished look. Now we're ready to quilt. We need to check markings and uncheck pattern and ditch in this case, and then send it to the quilting interface. You'll notice there are some jump stitches here. That's okay because this is not a continuous line pattern. There are a couple of settings we need to check. The first thing is we want to make sure that this pause at trim lines is checked. That means the machine will stop when it comes to a jump stitch. The other thing, depending upon how you want to treat this, is your tie-off stitch count. I have mine set at 0 right now, but I'm going to change that to 3 so that it will tie off those stitches. If you want to knot and bury all those jump stitches, then you would want to set that at 0 so you don't have any tie-off stitches that are visible. So here we've come to our first jump stitch and the machine actually stops and it prompts us to move to next. I personally like to pull my bobbin thread at this point and get it out of the way so I don't end up with a big jump stitch across my block and I don't end up with a thread nest underneath. So I will release carriage. In Toolbox, I'll release my carriage and then go ahead and pull that bobbin thread to the top just as I normally would. I've pulled my bobbin thread. Now I can click on Move to Next, and the machine is going to move to the next point where it needs to start stitching. Again, I would pull my bobbin thread to the top here, and then I'm going to click on Sew. And there we go. There's our block with the center area we did not stitch in and the cross hatching all around it. Turned out beautiful. You can also use the same technique for going around curves. So think like a basket block or some applique. You're not just limited to straight lines with marking tool. Hope this helps. Happy quilting!